Hello, guys. Today we're gonna continue our journey on discovering life. We already made a few videos. I already made a few videos talking about these things, and I want to keep going because I think there's so much more to say. And today I want to touch on something specific. There is no blueprint to life, there is no perfect way to live life, there is no perfect way to squeeze all the juice out of life. You will have bad moments, you'll have good moments, and you might be somebody who explodes early, or you might be a late bloomer. You might need to wait years, maybe even a decade, or even 2 decades before you really take off, before you really become the best version of yourself or the most fulfilled version of yourself. I want to talk about this because there is a huge stigma, this urgency online of young people entering their 20s or that are later in their 20s, people who persist that you have to figure it all out in your 20s, that you have to know it all in your 20s before even becoming 30, which is not even half of your life. If you really think about it, you actually start living at your own terms around like 18, 17, 19. It depends, how strict your parents are. It depends how old you are when you start working. It depends of your environment, your social connections, and so on. But realistically speaking, you really actually start living around the end of your teenage years, where you actually have the wheel at your hands and you can actually pull the trigger on your decisions. Because before that, you're either like the law prevents you from doing it because you're too young, you're either too inexperienced, you have strict parents, or you just don't feel ready for something that you're willing to do or to take a specific action. So, realistically speaking, we're talking about you living on Earth on your own terms for like 3, 4, 5 years. And why is there this urgency to have it all figured out by now? You actually just understand the basics of life. In this time of your life, you fall in love, you actually experience emotions, a certain emotions for the first time. Or, some close relative of you might go early and then you experience the sorrowness for the first time. You experience actual real life challenges and experiences for the first time when you enter this period of your life. So why is there again this urgency, this rush to have it all figured out before you even start living your life at your fullest biological potential, which for most people is around 25 to 35. That is when their peak is, that is when their body, their mind are fully developed and they can actually go and take off from there. The reason that this urgency exists is a combination of many things. I think the biggest one is probably social media. We see all these young entrepreneurs making it pretty big, pretty early, and you think, well, I'm still going to school. I have no idea what I want to do with my life. I have like this part-time job that pays me literal pennies. And this guy is out here, making like almost $1 million a year. And he almost mocks you because you're not making it as well. Now, this is of course putting pressure on your shoulders. This already puts pressure on your mind that you should make it young to be able to compete with these guys. Now we can dive, in the status and psychology and whatnot and why we are like that, but we're not here for it today, so we'll skip it. The idea is that social media gave platform to these people and their content is being pushed either by, advertisements, either by the algorithm to more people, and more people see it and they feel this urgency, they feel behind, they feel pressure that they're behind in life. But are they really? Because these lucky people or these very successful, determined people are like 0.01%, 0. Even it is below 1% by in any society in the world. It is below 1%. So here we're looking at a very small percentage of people in a particular generation making it big before being fully developed. Now, this is of course great for them. They made it. They don't have to care about finances for the rest of their lives. Props to them. You can't really say anything to them. But you're now 20, you don't really have the same cards dealt to you. You have not made it big before a certain period of time. And when you see this, you feel pressure now. Now you also have to ask yourself, is this really what you want? Is this the life you want? You might like this life, or you might romanticize this life, but not really enjoy it once you get there. So most of the people don't even get there to experience it, but some of them eventually get to this point of their life when they're financially free and they have all the things they want. I mean, materialistic things that they want. And they understand that it wasn't as good as it was perceived to be. So you also have to ask yourself that question, that it might actually not be that big of a deal, and that you might not really want it deep down. Again, conversation for another time. Now we touched on social media. I think another aspect is the economy. Young people feel the pressure. They understand that the economical state of the world right now and their finances are not going in a particular good trajectory. Me, myself, as a young dude, I understand that as things stand, I will have problems with my finances if I have a normal job. I think this is a big deal as well. I mean, we all like to say, social media ruined this generation, and, everybody wants to become an entrepreneur right now, and everybody wants to, earn millions online. I mean, partly I think comes from people being desperate and people understanding that the financial situation of theirs at the moment and in the future years is not going to improve despite them working full time, despite them working like an extra hours and getting a better degree and so on. So people understand that their situation is bad. They understand that they're stuck in a rabbit hole. They understand that they have to find a way out. And what they do is they try to look for alternative ideas, available ideas that they can do right now to earn more money or to become more financially stable and eventually financially free. But when you have a whole generation doing the same thing, when you have so many people pursuing the same ideas and trying the same thing, you have a surplus. You have too many people trying the same thing. So of course, not everybody can become an entrepreneur. Not everybody can run his own online store. Not everybody can run a local business and so on. It makes sense. Not everybody can become the same thing. And the consequences of that are many people failing and feeling like failure and feeling like they're actually behind in life, like they have nothing figured out, while they see a small percentage of people making it huge online. So now we have established two things. First one, social media makes you feel like you're behind, and it makes you feel like so many people have already found out what they want to do in their life, and so many people made so much money that they don't have to ever care about it anymore, and you don't have it. And the second thing is the economical state of the world is getting worse. Even if you live in a developed country, your finances are not in a great state right now, and the chances that they're going to improve in the future is also not likely. So people start leaning less towards education, towards their degrees, towards a regular 9 to 5, towards a more traditional path of living, because they see that it's not really working. They see that in the long run, they're not going to really get much out of it. So they look for alternatives. These two things play a huge role why young people try to make it before their prime, or before they're wise enough, or before they're capable enough, because the situation feels urgent. And even if it's urgent, there is still this artificial urgency added on top. So it multiplies and it feels like it's a very bad situation in general. Now, as somebody who tried to make a bunch of money online, and as somebody who really felt this urgency as well to make money and become financially independent as young as possible, I realized that it doesn't really work like that. Life is a long marathon, it is not a sprint. And if you think that in a year or two you're going to figure it all out, you're going to be left disappointed very quickly. And in the time being, I did make some money. I did earn a bunch to a point where I can just chill for a year or two and do nothing and kind of focus on myself. I came to a point where I don't really have to care about money short term. But the reality is that money didn't really change anything in my life specifically. So now, after I made some money, I understood that so many things around me are still not figured out. So many things around me are still due to improvement. So that is why I'm trying now to focus on other things. And I understand that there is not a blueprint to life. There is not a specific path you can take to make it. And online, it seems like there is this golden road that you can follow and arrive to heaven. Again, this heaven would be a metaphor for fulfillment, financial stability, emotional stability, and so on. But when you actually arrive there, you understand that it's not really true, that you have been lied to. And the sooner you understand that, this pipe dream is actually not real, the better. Because then you'll have time to drift off from this path. You'll have time to actually work on yourself and figure out how your character works, figure out your purpose, work on your social connections, work and improve your characteristics, and so on. And this is easier said than done. I understand that the urgency will always be there. I understand that the pressure of the society will always put you in a position where you feel like you're behind and you're lacking in so many areas of your life. But in reality, it is not really like that. Life is pretty long, life is pretty broad, things will not always go your way, and you might genuinely be somebody that enters his 40s and becomes a millionaire and doesn't have to care about it anymore if that's your goal. Or you might be 40 and you might meet the best people ever and be happy with your social circle at 40, or you might be a person that figures most of these things by like 28. It can go both ways, but you don't have to force it, because forcing it can actually be counterproductive. You can search up the law of detachment online, and I might even make a video about it in the future. It's pretty true. I've experienced it myself. The law of detachment is when you detach from something, it comes to you naturally. But when you try to force it, when you try to really try hard your way to it, it gets harder and harder. It gets further and further away from you. So I've done it before with YouTube channels. I've done it before even like with gaming, stuff like that. Like I've tried to force my way to more views on YouTube. I've tried to force my way to higher rank in a video game, but it always comes when you actually relax, when you actually let it flow, when you let the natural order do things for you. Now it might sound silly because we live in a hyper competitive society, we live in a capitalistic society, we live in a place where you actually need to compete and you have to be as active as possible, as productive as possible to reach your goals. But the law of detachment is kind of the opposite of that, and it seems like it's working for most people. And as I said, I have experienced it myself in some minor areas of my life that are still no bulletproof evidence that it works, but it is still something to consider. So it might be smart for you to look it up, and maybe you will like it, or maybe you will see that you were going too fast, too hard on something, and maybe you scared it off. It's like when you try to pet a cat. If you run really fast towards it, it's gonna run away probably. But if you go slowly and if you stand your ground, it might come to you, around your legs, and you can pet it. So it's something like that. So if you're a young dude just starting to live life, you have to understand that it is a long game. You're not gonna have it all figured out by 25 probably. There will be many challenges down the road. There will be many bad things happening to you, very unlucky things. You'll get fortunate sometimes as well. But this whole figuring out process takes a lifetime. It takes years, decades. For some people it never really clicks. That's the sad reality as well. It's never gonna be the same for everybody, and you should not try to copy somebody else's blueprint because it doesn't work for everybody. It is a very individual thing. But I think the reality is that there is not a blueprint whatsoever. I think life is very unique. It's very random at moments, and you have to go with the flow. You have to try your best and hope that one day you will be where you want to be. So after saying this, I want to wish you a good day, and I'll see you in the next one.